Hi, I'm Rachel Abbasi. Welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. As always, thanks for spending time with me.
Hello and happy Monday. I had to take a couple days off again because I got poison ivy and it is all over me. It is all over me. It's on my face, my neck, it's on my arm. You hopefully can't see it in this shade, but it's on my legs, my torso, everything, on my fingers. It's terrible. And so on Thursday and Friday, I was like, I can't do anything. I think Wednesday and Thursday, I spent in bed because if I just moved, it made me itch. Like it's the itching that just you cannot satisfy. It's terrible. So yesterday evening, I called virtual urgent care and they prescribed prednisone. So I just started that last night, and so I'm just waiting for this stuff to dry up. But it continues to spread even after. So I got it on Monday when I decided to go out and mow and do some yard work, and so it's just been growing since then for 7 days. I am not exposed anymore. I washed everything that touches me and it just continued to spread. So I asked Chatty McChatterton, and he said that depending on the amount of exposure to the what's oil, the poison ivy oil, and the thickness of skin and all of that, it will show up in different times on your body. But I think it it the way that it happens, it seems like it's spreading because like I'm recontaminating myself, but that's not actually what's happening. It says that that's Chatty said that's how it spreads. So, and Chatty knows everything. Okay, so that's where I was. I was itching for the past 7 days. Although I did record until Wednesday, I think. So was it maybe it was Thursday and Friday that I was in bed. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Today, and just as I started talking, I started itching, scratching. So that's why. That's why I didn't record, because when I'm not focused and completely still, it starts itching. So I'm gonna try my best not to scratch while I'm talking. So today, what I wanted to talk about is cravings. I think that it's something that when you stop drinking, it's like some sort of unattainable challenge to get the cravings to go away. So I wanted to talk about how that happened for me, and I think that there are so many people that I hear in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous who talk about, um, you know, when do the cravings stop? Like, it's all I can think about, that kind of thing. And for me, like, one thing that always bothered me was people saying that the cravings were just lifted. And I don't like that, because it makes it sound like you didn't have anything to do with it. That you start investing your energy into steps 2 and 3, and trying to get acquainted with your concept of your higher power, and you're praying for the cravings to go away, and they just don't go away. But then all of a sudden they're lifted, and that is not accurate to me. For me, they don't just magically disappear. um they start to lose their power over life, over my life, as I change my behavior, as I get more familiar with the tools of the program. So I always say there's this really vulnerable time between when you stop drinking and when the steps start to really take hold. Um, the way I look at it is that the cravings were not just simply removed, they were replaced. The cravings, like not following my cravings, and it's important to just acknowledge that cravings aren't instructions. I don't have to listen to them, but it feels like it. And that's the problem. It feels like it's never going to go away until I have that thing that I'm craving. An example is we got some cheesecake a couple days ago from this Italian restaurant near us. It's really good cheesecake. But what they sent along with the cheesecake is this little cup of cherries in juice. But the cherries that they sent in the juice are cherries that go into cocktails. They aren't the kind of like cherry syrup that you would pour atop a piece of cheesecake. So my husband, he tried one of the cherries and he's like, this is terrible. This is terrible that they sent this along. So yesterday, that's the only time he brought it up, you know? And so we've been slowly eating this cheesecake. It takes us days to eat a piece of cheesecake because I guess it's so rich, but we didn't talk about the cherries anymore. And then yesterday, he came home with a bag of fresh cherries and he rinsed them all off and then he ate a cherry and he was like, "Oh, I've been craving a real sweet cherry ever since that terrible cherry that I ate before the cheesecake." And that's what cravings are like. Like when I see a commercial for pizza, I want the pizza until I get the pizza. Um, so a lot of folks think that it's willpower that keeps us from not satisfying that craving. And that's not what it is. I didn't realize that's not what it is until I looked back on and really tried to think through like what made my cravings go away? How did I deal with it? And when were they actually gone? And I stand by my claim that it is not something that was just magically lifted. I stand by my claim that it is not willpower because I don't have a lot of willpower. When I want an ice cream cone, I'm going to go get an ice cream cone. When I want a cup of coffee, I'm going to get a cup of coffee. But what is replacing the cravings is willingness. And that may sound weird, but the best I can think of today as I'm thinking through my journey with cravings is that the willingness to do the next right thing was what helped me avoid satisfying the cravings. So willingness to go to another meeting. I've been talking a lot about the next right thing. And sometimes the next right thing is just standing up from your recliner, is just taking a step towards your closet so you can get dressed, is finding your keys. Like the next right thing are these miniature tasks that get you one step closer to the next right thing. It's the I don't see going to a meeting as the next right thing. It is the goal. The next right thing is actually how can I move my body to get towards that meeting? willingness to make another phone call, to call my sponsor, or call somebody else in the program. That's where the freedom from that craving is. It's being able to focus my attention towards that next right action instead of satisfying the craving. So, when did I stop craving alcohol? Um, boy, I mean, it's, I can't say that there's a hard, fast line for stopping craving alcohol because I think that over time, as I practice doing the next right thing and the next right thing becomes a habit, which it does, which it can, that I replaced those cravings with wanting to do, like, the more I did the next right thing, the more I wanted to do the next right thing. So it just like began to dissipate. But I think that it's a process. And I think that it's one that my sponsor asked me within the last year, she said, um, do you deal with cravings? Do you have cravings? And I said, no, I don't have cravings, but it is one of my biggest fears is that I'm going to have a craving. And then what do? I'm not terribly afraid of my cravings. I think I have a healthy fear of cravings. I don't feel like I'm in this internal battle. I do feel sometimes that the thoughts of alcohol, brief thoughts of alcohol about, oh, wouldn't it be nice to sit on the beach with a beer? But it's so, looking for the word, fleeting that I don't feel like I'm depriving myself of that as it would if it was a craving. It's just more of a acknowledgement of the past, of something that I used to do, that I used to enjoy, but it's not something that I allow to take up residence in my brain. And sometimes the next right thing, if I'm in a situation like that, it would be that I stand up and I go out into the water. Like if I'm sitting in my beach chair and I'm looking over at somebody who's clearly drinking a beer, with their little koozie wrapped around it, I'm just sitting in my chair, um, then I can't crave or I can't reminisce on as easily on what it was like to sit on the beach drinking a beer if I'm not sitting anymore. So the next right thing for me is to get up. And most likely me getting up and changing, change an action, change an action, change a thought, change a move, change a thought. I the other day I brought this up and I couldn't remember how it went. But when I the next right action dissipated that thought of alcohol, that memory. So it's not willpower that keeps me from running to the store. Well, it's my disability, but even if I could drive, um, it's not willpower that's keeping me from doing that. I'm changing where my body is often. I'm changing where my body is to change where my mind is. So, I know that willpower doesn't work when it comes to alcohol. But what does work is moving my body. Move your body, change a thought. No. Um, so it's when began to introduce this willingness to do the next right thing that it replaced willpower. They both seem to have the same root word, but it's different. It's willpower seems to be this like elusive superpower within me that wears a cape and is like, you are stronger than your cravings. And that's not, I'm not. Okay, I'm not. So, willingness instead, willingness to go to detox, willingness to listen to people in my fellowship, willingness to go to meetings even when I don't want to, willingness to get a sponsor, willingness to ask for help, willingness to do the next right thing gives me less opportunity for a drink. So I think in my case, the cravings were replaced rather than removed. They were replaced with action. They were replaced with connection to other human beings. They were replaced with this notion of never being alone. Um, if I'm never alone, I'm never going to have that feeling, that thought of nobody would know, nobody would know. And if you're a recovering alcoholic or if you're in active alcoholism, you know what I'm talking about. Nobody would know. And I talk about it a lot, how when I realized that I was going to be all in on this God thing, that I was going to be all in on a higher power, then I had to believe that I was never alone. And when I came to that realization, when I came to trust in that, when I came to fake it till you make it, even if you want to. When I came to have that understanding that I'm never alone, then I I've never thought that since then. That was 10 years ago that I thought when I was walking around the hotel in San Francisco and I thought nobody would know. Nobody would know if I had a drink. And I made that decision like if I'm all in on this higher power thing, then my higher power would know and I would know. I've never thought nobody would know since then. That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. Um, so the craving, I was having a craving, right? I mean, I was having a craving as I was walking around the block of my hotel, thinking nobody would know if I just stopped at one of these restaurants and just had a drink. That was the craving. So, what made it go away? Willingness. That's what it was. Um, I couldn't be more confident in that. It, the willingness to do the next right thing. Like I thought in my mind, the next right thing is obviously to not get a drink, but I needed something to exist between me standing outside on the sidewalk and me sitting inside the restaurant. I needed something to happen during that time, or else I would follow the craving. So, what had to happen when I walked through that door? It had to be willingness. I had to be willing to sit down in that restaurant and have my higher power sit beside me. That was the only way. And by doing that once, I can always look back and say, oh, I've already done this once. I can do it again. That's what I think made me feel more confident in my own sobriety. And that's when I started to get these routines and I started to have hope. And um, every time I thought of a situation where I would drink, say, like on the beach with a beer, I filled in that time with willingness to do the next right thing, if that makes sense. I'm not using big words today, so you'll just have to accept me for who I am. So the next right thing really made life not seem so overwhelming. Um, when I approach things like standing up is the next right thing, like getting on my knees before I go to bed and pray is the next right thing. Like sometimes I feel like before I'm going to bed, I'm thinking about, one of my kids and oh, I wish they would just be able to, like, I just pray that they get this or that they'll be okay. I pray for their safety and their health. But what can I do right now? What can I do between the time I'm going to, the time I walk to the bed and the time I put my head on my pillow? It's the willingness to do the next right thing. And for me, the willingness to do the next right thing during that phase of my day is to get on my knees and say, let go, let God, to be grateful for the things that I have and try to connect a little more with my understanding of my higher power. And that happens all throughout the day. The next right thing is, uh, like this morning when I woke up, it was like 7:54 or something like that. And wait, 7:54? Yeah. And my morning meeting starts at 8 now. I used to go to a 7 o'clock. Now I go to an 8 o'clock. Um, and I'm laying there thinking that I want to keep laying there. And my dogs were asleep and everything. And it doesn't matter what I want. I have to get into this like turn off my wanter. And that's what I call it when I talk about that all the time, turning off my wanter. It's really making having my willingness to do the next right thing replace my wanter, the next thing I want to do. Um, so I think I'm going to stop there. I was going to talk a little bit about um, how our drinking and how this idea of having cravings in the first year of sobriety and managing our relationships with while we're trying to do this whole like how do I get rid of my cravings? It won't go, I don't understand it, they won't go away. Managing that between my ears while also trying to nurture my relationships that I couldn't even see before I quit drinking, but letting them know like this is what I have to do for my sobriety. I need to do these things to manage the cravings to, just going to a meeting. Like I remember when Bailey, my daughter, for those of you who are newcomers, um, asked me, why do you still keep going to that meeting? I was like 6 months into sobriety. And I said, well, in order for me to be mentally present, I need to physically be there so that I can come back home and, be able to keep not drinking. So anyway, I was going to go into that topic, but it's not really a natural segue over there. So I think we'll save that one for tomorrow. So we'll just stick to the um the cravings. And if you have any questions, like you can email me. You can tell probably that I'm not totally all cognitively there right now. That's what happens when I I'm not feeling well. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm totally not all here. So, if you ever have questions about cravings or anything else that I talk about in the podcast, you can reach me at Rachel at recoverydailypodcast.com. I'm going to stop because I'm talking in circles. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.